After. What's that time anyhow?
Yes, we're recording.
It said we were.
So this is our monthly water and sewer committee. It's July the 8th, 6:30. With that, we have a quorum with Joe, Dylan, Ross, and myself. I had not heard from anybody else. I know John is working and Ricky and Dean. Never heard either one of those either.
Didn't one of those guys say they were gonna be on vacation this month?
Dean was gonna be in Alaska.
He was in Alaska last time.
Oh,
Maybe he's on more vacation.
maybe it's Arizona.
Those retirees got a maid.
Those guys, don't worry about any.
Well, there's a packet of information there in front of you for there, so with that.
I don't know if you got this is I got a
Yeah.
copy.
Yeah, I've got some to go for it, Joe. I got a iPad.
Jason joining us or no?
I don't think he's here tonight, no.
Okay, I didn't see the card. Well, let's go ahead and approve the January 10th minutes. If somebody'd like to make a motion.
I'll move that we approve the June 10th agenda.
For a second,
I'll second it.
there it is. I'm here. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. The agenda, jumped ahead there one time. I would like to add Oak Meadows pond water request. So we'll add that to,
I was thinking like 3B,
yeah, three C,
D,
what's that?
3D, after C. There it is.
I don't have a C.
There is Lewiston would pay Orinoco.
Oh, small B, okay, I saw the big B, okay.
3D is in dog.
Yeah, no, it's the small B, okay. Oak,
Where you having it?
yeah, the first page,
3D.
small letter B. There's a request to help with the water from their pond system. Or Orinoco Estates, it's called Oak Meadows now.
Oh, there is a D, isn't there? D, E, F.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's there, it's okay. We'll just move them all down one. We'll make it part of B, let's just say it there. It's all related to. No, it's different. It's different.
Yeah, it's different.
Okay. That's what I was gonna say after large B, or let's make it G.
G would be working.
That's G, yeah.
G. VG.
Okay.
Okay, so we're adding it to the last item under people service operation wastewater system. 3G. Top of page 2. Any other requests? I make a motion to approve the agenda. Second. I'll second that.
One of them.
To accept the agenda as
Dropped it.
approved. Okay. Any other comments? Seeing none, will all in favor signify by saying aye.
Right.
Aye. Opposed? All right. Correction update?
We'll have the final pay request for Staub, hopefully in August. They just gotta get their IC 134s to me. They've already given me the final pay request, so they're kind of working on those types of things. Not really any outstanding punch list items. Warranty item from the standpoint of mixers in bays 2B and 3A. They have been removed by Xylem, and they're at the contractor being repaired, and presumably we'll get them back here, I'm assuming next month.
That's electric pump, right, and for local run.
Yeah, yep, that's where they're at, I understand.
How come that motor comes out? Quite, I mean, it's never been used or not much.
I don't know. I haven't really,
If they're gonna fail, they fail right away.
Okay, well, that's good. Get that one fixed and it runs, maybe will last for 10 years or 20.
so not much going on in terms of the contractor. I think they did come and photograph the site from the air and ground. They had a professional in on like the 3rd of July, so.
Yeah, I saw a plane circling around.
They had a plane, did they?
Yeah.
Not a drone?
Well, there was a plane flying around this way that it came through the
Huh.
southeast side of, so I don't know. But I
They
saw
have
it do a
photographed a
circle.
lot more than you know about.
Well, they're usually pretty good about sharing that, in the past, they've always shared their photos, so I'm assuming we'll get some nice
Yeah, but-
photos. That'll be nice.
It was, one contract says, take a picture of this, take a picture of that. Another one saying, and I'll take about 6 other pictures just for foolish.
We do have a wastewater treatment operations update. That just came in today, apparently. I talked to Dan a little bit this morning, and he said that he was working on getting that processed. The admin person that usually does it was out on vacation last week, so we got him a little bit later, but he did kind of run through a little bit of information. That's maybe not even on the updates. I'll just give that to you. The total nitrogen value in May was 7.1, in June was 3.9. Remember, the limit is 10. Total phosphorus in milligrams per liter was 0.2 in May and was 0.1 in June, and the limit is 0.4. So he felt like the plant was running great. And they're meeting all their limits. He said that they've had a few unusual things going on in terms of wastewater coming in. The influent CBOD jumped really high recently for unknown reasons.
What's that?
Urbanation biochemical oxygen demand. How strong the wastewater is.
I don't know if somebody was cleaning out a grease trap, or I don't know what the reason for that would be, but somebody was doing something that was unusual and feeding a lot of load into the system. Not that he was necessarily concerned about it, but yeah. So. But yeah, he didn't have a whole lot to report. Things were basically going as they should there.
Are they gonna be on track now with, once, everybody's, more or less, everybody is hooked up that fall? Are they gonna be able to handle the cold weather, like,
Oh, in terms of the issues we had with total nitrogen?
last year?
Yeah. Well, presumably we've learned some things about how to operate the system more efficiently and building up some of the biomass as things start to get cold so that
Okay.
they're set up to do that. So yeah, there's a bit of a learning curve there, and it sounds like they've got a plan for how to better operate cold season.
Hey, Joe,
Yeah,
that phosphorus moving average. You said it's 0.2, 0.1.
not the phosphorus moving average, is that just the monthly result, not the moving average.
Oh, so it's not.
And they don't report that in the
graph
back.
here. Okay,
Well, they do.
Report something.
They do report it in terms of phosphorus effluent milligrams per liter. You can see, I said it was 0.2, and that's what this says for April.
right, so I think phosphorus 12-month moving total is what? It's like 15,
May 24. we had
so that's what the graph is showing,
Right,
phosphorus 12-month moving total. That was for May, about 15, yeah, okay.
it looks like the limit's 128.
Yeah, it's a total, I think that's a 12-month total.
Yeah, and I gave you the May and June numbers for 25. You just got May of 25 here. He just said he submitted June last week or something.
In terms of chemicals, I'm assuming chemical budget's probably about based on.
There was something on that. I think the chemical budget's about 50% used. Where did I see that?
It showed 93%
Yeah.
used as of May.
Percent time.
Oh, I was looking at the wrong column. Yeah, chemical budget 93%.
So
Kane, do you know anything about that?
That additive that was added during the winter months. That
For the phosphorus loading,
Yeah, okay.
that was a lot of it.
to rebuild that biomass.
Yep.
What'd they call that?
fix, something fix.
Yeah. Are we gonna be in, what, does this budget is July to December? Year to year, or is it mid-year or
Looks like
something?
it's January to January then.
Okay,
Correct. Yep.
January to end of December or something like that. So 93% used, are we in trouble there?
A little bit.
How much is a little bit? $50 or 5,000?
Well, time will tell here.
Okay.
And if I remember it, alum is basically on continuous,
No,
liquid polymer. Right.
no, they feed alum, but only when they need it. They it is controlled.
No, yeah, certainly, yes, but are they controlling it or is it just on at a certain low dose?
No, it's not, it's being controlled. So it feeds when the system wants it. And it needed, yeah.
So none of the chemicals are just turned on and,
There was a leak this
you know.
previous year and that.
Yeah.
So they got that fixed?
There was a time when that was true though,
Right.
early on in the system,
It
when they
was.
were having
Is it fixed?
programming issues and things weren't.
Good, or just like last time, they fixed it and a month later it blew out again?
Time will tell.
Is this, any of this buried or is it all above ground?
That's right in the chemical feed building is right there. It's not hard to get to.
So it's all above ground?
Well, the place where it leaked was,
The place where it leaked is in the building. You can get to it, but then there's a portion that's buried. And then it is exposed over the SBR.
Hmm.
There's a few main things in chemical budget, so.
Well, sounds like somebody did a horseshit job of it.
Right. Do you want to touch base on the, anything on the maintenance report?
Not that I know of.
Well, we did receive, so you did receive 4 pages. 3 pages is what you've seen before, but what the report now, it's 14 pages long, and what they did is they added all of the lift station maintenance items. There's 16 items. They also added some things about the probes. The NH4 probes and the phosphorus. So I didn't print off all 14 pages, but basically it just listed the 16 items they were checking at each of the lift stations. And the task was the annual PM, right, periodic maintenance. There was some electric pump on lift station 2. Will be completed in the next few weeks. Electric pump at all the stations in the next few weeks, but
They're just contracting with electric pump to do
Electric
the
pump, right.
annual maintenance of the lift stations.
that's their cost.
Peoples is not doing that. They are contracting that.
So who pays that bill? Peoples or us?
I imagine it's gonna come out of their end.
That would be people service, yeah.
Then we don't have to plan for it.
Choice. We didn't choose a contractor. At least that's how I perceive it.
We can circle the wagons with Peoples and see exactly.
Yeah, but some, as long as you don't have to plan and budget for it.
Is there anything in the contract with people about covering costs of contract work or?
That would be, really the only thing they should be doing is changing the oil and looking everything over. And so that's the same kind of work they're doing everywhere else. They just, somebody's contracting this out. Or farming it out.
This may be part of the warranty too. I guess maybe we need to check with Peoples. Are you talking about them hiring
Electric pump.
not electric pump,
Minnesota pump?
oh, that's not what I was thinking about. It was just the maintenance of the HVAC stuff.
Valor?
Valor,
Yeah, they finally did get a contract with Valor, so the HVAC EMs have been completed.
I heard that.
But I think this is annual, the lift station maintenance is what they've added to the work orders here. Where each year they pull the pumps and they check things and annual measure.
You know, Valor came out, replaced all filters and did spring PMs on HVAC. If they're having some electrical issues with the main breaker, that's taken care of. In that same paragraph, we asked for an annual review, and Herb has come back. And up in the 16th or the 17th. So I think from what I read on the email was it was sent to their director of sales and president, and that the director of sales came back and said, well, Herb is the best person to have the annual review with. So I'm assuming it'd be a person in person, 16th and 17th. Is that your understanding?
Yeah.
So, Kane, were you gonna set a time up, or Jason, or who's gonna set that up?
I think we're still trying to figure that out. It's on my tomorrow list. So I was waiting to hear back a few when everybody was available.
Who should be in that meeting?
Joe, Jason. I could be there. Ryland.
Yeah,
if
it's,
you need it.
you're putting agenda together? Or who's
Well,
jointly or?
I think we should formulate something to talk about, have a agenda. Otherwise, it's just gonna go nowhere,
Free for all, yeah.
right?
I should give him an idea too, of what we're going to want to discuss,
Yes.
so he's prepared too, so. So we should probably have something to him by Thursday morning, at least Thursday noon.
We can work on that, Jason.
Yeah.
So you'll work on the agenda and pick a time and let me know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next Wednesday or Thursday is kind of one of those days.
Morning works better for me, days, but
Yeah,
my input.
yeah, Wednesday works better for me.
Good. There's also a statement in here from last week, or on the agenda about discussion of people service development policy for handling PFAS strategy in biosolids that occurs in 2026. So let's keep that on the agenda then.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just kind of the reality. PFAS seems to be everywhere and you gotta test for it before you land apply biosolids and
That's included in our permit.
no,
That's. I know that Messer, forget what the acronym stands for, they're actually meeting, I think late this week, to talk about if they're going to challenge PCA's legal authority to require those samples and that reporting without it being in anybody's permit. Which,
good.
that's what I have heard. I don't claim to be an expert or involved in any of those conversations, so just not everybody is just falling in line with that.
I think the city is a member.
Messer.
We were at one point, they helped us review the initial permit 5 years ago.
Who's that? Sorry, I catch the first part.
That Messer, there's an attorney, can't think of his name, but he agreed to help review our permit and provide some commentary so long as the city became a member, if I remember right. And the city said, okay, and became a member and paid the dues back then. I don't know if they kept paying dues or if they're current or where they're at, but Daniel is the attorney. I can't think of his last name, but he's really sharp. Maybe you've met him. I don't know. Yeah.
If you come across, if you want to share it with Dylan.
Oh,
I don't, I'm not really involved in any of those. I just hear things.
Well, let's hope they have success. Life a little easier.
Next item was our request from Lewiston. with 150,000 gallons of sludge biosolid. And, the details in your ABC was pretty well, our discussion met in June. And, Kane, did you reach out to fellow cities and
I did. It's kind of a unique request Peoples is asking of another utility. You know, usually the request is land applying it. Usually you're working with a farmer to get rid of biosolids. You're not working with another utility to take it on. Dylan and I spoke briefly about this and how Rochester would handle things or wouldn't handle things. I mean, it's already treated, it's already refined, you know, it's not just wastewater, it's
ready to be?
kind of uncharted. I did speak with Gopher Septic. Gopher Septic, when they're dealing with biosolids, much smaller quantities, they're at 20 cents a gallon. Herb stated 5 to 8 cents. I just don't know. Do you get a break on the quantity? Do you? The other concern I had was the PFAS, of course. If we go to land apply and the PFAS regulations change between now and land application, is that going to hinder us in any way? Are we gonna have to dilute it more? Are we gonna have to, is it gonna cost us more to land apply? Oh, good questions. I don't have the answers.
I think it's back on what Herb said on our phone call, I think last month, I didn't sense any additional treatment, but that's my interpretation of what he was saying.
It'll get pumped into our digesters, our large tanks, and it will be aerated. And that's electricity, that's wear and tear. I get it, it's minimal. It's just the quantity of land application. You know, we're gonna need to find that much more land to certify, and Peoples is in that process right now of finding that land and doing that, and that takes time. We do have a lot of capacity at the treatment facility. You know, we could possibly land apply a portion of it next spring. Doesn't all have to be land applied. I mean, there's strategy here. We could sit on a portion of that 150,000 gallons. There's a lot of things we could do.
Well, if we enter into a contract with them, I think we ought to be up more like 10 cents a gallon, but not the 5 to 8 or 6 to 8. And then we ought to have some kind of a rider in there that if that additional sludge gets us into any kind of trouble, we have to pay extra money to get rid of it or whatever, that they absorb that for us. Otherwise, we could lose, you know, I mean, if everything goes well, it's in the ground, it's gone, but that's a big if. If we don't have any, doesn't have any people contracted for us right now. So taking on that 125,000 gallons is a little bit of a burden, not a big burden. It's a little additional burden. And I'm kind of leery about that. If people say we got contracted people, as soon as the crop's out, we can throw in, you know, 150, 200,000 gallons. Oh, well, then we had no problem. We can get rid of it. But that's a big if.
So in our notes, I just put in what Herb had told us about he thought 2 to 3 cents a gallon would be the cost to apply the sludge. That's based on the 5 to 8, so if we said 20 cents a gallon, that would even it should be more than enough to cover our expenses, but
Did Herb,
everybody say 20 cents is too much, and if it is, that's for someplace else, we know.
did Herb indicate a timeline of when they needed to get this sludge transferred?
I don't remember anybody here.
I talked to Dan when I got my update and he seemed to say they needed to or wanted to transport it ASAP, and if it goes much longer, they're just gonna figure out a way to hold it and land apply it themselves this fall.
I heard something about August once, but that could have been us talking too.
Yeah, I think they're wanting to do it. If they're gonna do it ASAP because it's kind of a hardship the way they have to deal with things now, so
What's your gut feeling, Joe?
probably not a big deal. Kind of a pain in the butt to deal with. But you do help another city and
Some,
everybody's in a pinch at one point and looking for help, so if you can help somebody, maybe you can do it, but I wouldn't do it for free.
Right. I'm with you completely. I just don't know where to set that price per gallon. Somewhere between 10 and 20 cents.
Was 20 cents a gallon for treating it, or was that just for storage? Because this is just for storage. It's already been treated.
The 20 cent rate was for the septic haulers who deal with a much smaller capacity. 5,000 or less gallons at a time.
But that would have to be treated, and this wouldn't.
No, they land apply that. They land apply those biosolids. We're gonna store those until we land apply.
Okay.
So we're kind of a holding area for that, and plus we'll have that additional cost of land applying, so.
but we got a better deal than what like Left or Gopher or
Yep.
we get, because of the mass amount, we get a better deal
Yep.
usually.
So we designed, so we could do this too.
Well, you're designing for a much bigger facility than you have today. You're designing for a 20-year facility and you're in year 2, so.
So is the 12,000 we would get from that, could that go toward the chemicals, the maintenance for the budget that's over or
Well,
almost over?
theoretically, the 125,000 that they want to give us or sell to us shouldn't need any treating, shouldn't.
Yeah.
But the
money,
the revenue
12,000.
from that will
The
end up
revenue.
being spent in disposal costs, most of it.
So,
And the, pumping costs and electricity, things like that, you'll eat up most of it or a good chunk of it, unless you're gonna go with 15, 20 cents, then you've got a little more to play with, but it's not in the big picture meaningful money to the treatment facility when you're talking about the operating budget of that facility.
So 20 cents is kind of, they're familiar with 5 and 8, we show 20. That does seem like a big jump. 15 might seem more appropriate just because it's double, but we're helping the city out instead of having, I think it was 75,000 or $7,500. Now we're talking 22,500 for it. So it's a little bit bigger piece of the pie to cover our expenses and our getting rid of it too. So
I think that's a good place to start, but I think it's uncertain. We don't have a land application program at all. We don't know how much it's gonna cost. We don't know how far it's gonna have to be trucked. We don't know who's gonna land apply it.
Correct.
So in my mind, that 15 cents, that's just insurance.
Yeah.
In case we get in a bind and we gotta haul it all the way to, I don't know, some township 30 miles away.
And all we have is that Herb was starting to look at that. So you're right, we don't know, but he said he was thinking ahead of what would happen, I guess. So
I think that's the scary part, is that we don't have a contract with anybody to get rid of anything right now. So adding 125,000 gallons, we still got time, but we could probably go, next spring or next fall before we will get in trouble. But I just, by the way, by as much as we're accumulating, but we haven't got everybody hooked up yet. There's still a few that aren't.
So is Peoples responsible for finding a place to ground apply it?
Yes, that's the contractor.
It's kind of their jam. That's what I was reviewing.
Yeah, so in my opinion, Herb is kind of in a little bit of a conflict of interest here, but
Because he's charged Lewiston and us.
right.
Well, like I say, my opinion is that I'm not opposed to it. Because we got room and we can help out a neighboring community. But the contract we signed with them should have some kind of a cushion factor in there that, if we go 10 or if we go 15, bring it here, now it's here. They cut us a check for that. If it costs us, 12 or 17 or 20 cents to get rid of it, we don't have that kind of a cushion in that deal.
I think the numbers are hard to quantify, and to put that into a contract and get an attorney to make that happen, you're gonna spend thousands of dollars, and it's a.
Then if I were
$20,000
them,
contract, I mean, it just does, I'm not sure that makes sense.
if I were them, I'd say I want the flip side then too. If you can get rid of it for a nickel, I want my money back.
Mhm.
So I would say, I mean, it's not really gonna be a contract, it's just gonna be, we're gonna charge this much.
Okay,
Hopefully we
So
get
one
that
time-
number right.
then.
One-time revenue.
Roll the dice on get rid of it.
Yeah, hopefully you
Okay.
come out on the right side of the equation, you're including insurance, say if you go at the 15 cents, you're including pretty significant insurance based on the estimates. And if you come out on the right side of it, you do, and if you don't, you probably eat it all up.
But then you can always call on Lewiston for a favor too. I mean,
Tell them we got
we're kind of,
100,000 gallons to bring
we're
back.
kind of trading favors here, really. I hope they realize that, or peoples.
Do we wanna, before we forward this to the council, do we wanna put a penny amount, per, 12, 15, 20? Do we wanna do that for the council?
I like 50. I think it's got insurance built in.
Okay,
I kind of agree, that's where I'd land.
all right,
With what? Sorry.
I just kind of agreed with Joe, I think 15 cents probably doesn't feel too bad, and it
Yeah.
provides a little bit of insurance to protect the city's interest if indeed you want to do it.
a little caution. So we,
Is that a motion
But it charged 15 cents a,
to recommend?
yeah, I recommend 15 cents a gallon.
recommend we do that with a 15 cents, okay.
Is that the minimum we'll take? Cause you know they're gonna come back at 10.
No,
Then
Yeah, and they might gag on 15 cents and say, we'll figure it out on our own.
Yeah.
That might be that too.
No skin off our back. I mean, we've got another year or two before we'll absolutely have to land apply, so.
I will second Joe's motion,
15
I
cents.
think.
But we can't get gas for that,
Uh-huh.
Too bad we can't get gas for that.
Well, that's covered in that cents per gallon.
I was talking fuel, automotive fuel. Too bad we can't get gas for our cars for 15 cents.
Oh. Yeah. Well, that's another story. For another time.
Have a motion, recommend, council a 15 cents per gallon to accept Lewiston's 150,000 gallons of biosolids.
That was 125,000.
It's 150.
Oh, it's 150 here. Okay, I'm sorry. I read the wrong page. Okay. I still second it.
Any other comments? I think it's. When Joe, when Herb said 5 to 8 cents. I was going read a couple years ago, so I think we're, just like everything else has gone up, so I think 15 cents is. I mean, instead of, and he quoted us, or he said supply would be 2 to 3 cents, that might be 6 to 8 cents. So we're still.
Just don't know. Blame it on the tariffs.
What's that?
Blame it on the tariffs.
Blame it on.
This is
What's his
All right,
name?
any other comments?
Oh, that's true. It's not import duties.
Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? All right. Good. Should we reach back out to Herb and say we're gonna recommend that to council or wait for council's decision?
It's up to you, it's a week away.
Let's wait.
Okay.
Okay. Joe,
I was gonna say PCA certification, item B, I know that, Jason and Kane are getting close. Maybe you even did you submit that, form today? I know you were working on it. Of, collecting sufficient funds for operation, maintenance, and repair. The treatment facility.
The one I called you about?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to touch base with Kane before we emailed it out. But I think we've got it 99.5% done, so I just wanted to get the final touches with Kane,
okay.
so.
So. Hope to be submitting in the next week or less.
Tomorrow.
it doesn't have to go to council, is that correct?
No.
Okay. Thank you. The one we added was the Oak Mill Pond water. Your packet is an email. This is late breaking news today. Well, this is Orinoco Estate of Oak Mills now. So Joe, do you want to just kind of give a brief overview on
Yeah,
challenges?
operator for Oak Meadow Estates reached out to the city and asked if city would be willing to take the wastewater in the ponds before they're fully decommissioned. So we would just be taking the water, and they'd like to pump it to the treatment facility. And so I started asking questions about, when and how much and those types of things, and they didn't really know any of those answers. So I did a little simple math based on the limited information that I have and that they provided me, and calculated that there's about 2 million, maybe more gallons of wastewater that would be metered back through. And talking with the operators, the city could take, somewhere between 20 and 50,000 gallons a day and not impact the number of bays that we're running. And so, kind of do the math, that's somewhere between 40 and 100 days of taking their wastewater. And otherwise, I'm not sure what they can do with it. It gets to be a bit of a problem for them. So, and I pointed out the fact that, we'd want you to kind of meter that wastewater in, so we're not getting a slug of it at any one time at those kind of maximum discharge rates. And the other thing is if we accept it, we should probably get paid to treat it. And so
Is there any tests been done, so we know what we're getting?
they don't seem to know what's going on.
Okay,
They haven't done any tests. I did talk to the operator about that too. They don't seem to really have a concern about it, so long as, we keep the rates within what we think we can handle, and that, there's not something unexpected in that wastewater, which we should get tests, but I don't think they have any. And then the other thing they said is they absolutely don't want any of the biosolid at the bottom of the pond.
We control that. How do
Uh,
they control that?
well, good question.
Cause they could just let that thing drop.
Well, you know, you're pumping. I suppose it depends on what kind of pump they have and how they set it up.
That's strong, yes, yeah.
How they draw it from the pond.
Yeah.
The flow, does it? There's ways.
So, you know, it's another one of those things where we've got a partnership with them that's been a little wavy. And,
Have they paid their bill?
Jason knows.
Yeah, they've got everything but the interest fees, the late fees and interest on the ones that they've missed. So we're still trying to figure out that. Still, council's not budging on it. So I'm not sure exactly what our next route's gonna be if they say they don't wanna pay them, you have to take them to court. Cause we're talking tens of thousands of dollars. So.
I suppose technically you could assess them.
To assess the late fees, so that might be the next option, is to assess them and,
Through the township though.
yeah,
The township, yeah.
yeah, but. Yeah, so we're kind of working on things, but at the same time, they're not paying their bills up in full, which they've made good faith to get everything paid up minus that one portion of it.
Yeah.
You know, and we're not taking on more stuff, doing stuff for them. And they.
Yeah, I agree that
You might wanna get paid up front.
like a Sopranos deal, you know, sit on a table at the Italian restaurant and we'll take your pond water, but you gotta, you know, make the payment.
Well, and what is that payment? That's the other piece, you know, is that at their municipal rate? Is it half their municipal rate? You know, I guess we should really know what we're taking before we make those types of decisions, if we are interested at all.
But if we do, I mean, if there is just full municipal rate, then they can just pump it down their own lift station and pump it to us, and as long as they stay under their maximum monthly flow,
55,000, isn't it?
then
Yeah, you're right.
within the agreement.
Yeah, and the agreement is tiered, so the more they pump, the more they pay. And they do have a maximum. And the agreement may preclude doing that, I don't know. But that is a thought.
They used to, this used to be discharged, right? I mean, portions of it from the.
Spray irrigated.
Spray irrigated.
And so maybe that's, you know, at least partially a option. But maybe there's too much waste. I just don't know.
My question is where does water come from?
They're treatment ponds, so before they were hooked up to us, they had
Where the- yeah.
treatment ponds.
Yeah, but what do we expect? I guess looking at it from the RV side, is it gray water or black water? You know what I mean?
Well, the one pond is probably polished, ready for discharge.
They say the secondary
Clean water,
pond is 4 feet of clear water.
Yeah. And so that would be almost, I mean, it'd be silly to pump that to us if they don't need to.
They don't seem to have a very good handle on how much wastewater they have. I have seen nothing about what strength the wastewater is. What their timeline is, you know, there's a million questions for us. You know, and I pointed out, I'm assuming that we're gonna wanna get paid for it. We should get paid for it, in my opinion, and I pointed that out in my email, they didn't respond to any of that.
What's the contract right now is they got, what, 20,000 gallons a day is the max that we can expect from them?
I think it's more like 55,000
Oh,
some
okay.
odd gallons a day.
And so how much are we receiving right now?
I don't know, well below that.
Well, They were gonna go back supposedly next week and get some more definitive measurements of how much water is actually in it.
I think the point of tonight is, first, are we interested in considering that? Is the city interested in considering that? You know, if you're not, then it doesn't pay to invest any more effort into it. But if you are, then, you know, then we play 20 questions with them.
Well, I think we have to be. It's a wastewater source from a community that we serve. I don't think you can just say no
I don't,
responsibly.
yeah, I don't think we dare to say no.
Yeah, we got a lot of state money that said we were gonna be a,
Well, they benefited from the state money to the same ratio as the city did. You know, and you could extend that to the biosolid then. Are you willing to take their biosolid? Well, no. I mean, at least speaking with the operators, the answer is no. And the volumes of biosolid might be pretty huge. Depending on what's in those ponds, they've probably never been cleaned.
right, yeah.
So,
At least probably 3 years since well, they were irrigating when we were building the plant. 22 or 23.
That's a little different than the biosolids. though.
Oh, yeah, I'm thinking, you're right. It's not the biosolids, just the water.
I would suggest if we're gonna take on their waste, which we should, being a partner in this, they should pump it back to their lift station at a metered rate that would not raise concerns with our operators or our plant. And they pay for it. They pay full price. Whatever we meter through our flow meter, they pay for.
After they've paid their bills. They're,
Yeah, and use it as a lever.
So is that metered at their lift station?
no, it's at our wastewater
It's at
treatment.
our wastewater plant. We have a meter for just them.
Right now, we're metering from the waste, from the trailer park.
Yep.
So that what they add, how do we know how much they're adding though?
Again, the meter's at the treatment plant. So anything that they deliver to the treatment plant gets metered.
Okay,
So right now, for the month of May, they were at like 24,000 a day. Okay? So we could take on, if the limit's 55, or however the contract states that tiered rate, we could take roughly 20,000. And maybe we could waive those fees while they're doing this. For these 2 months or whatever the time period is, maybe we waive those fees, but only, you know, be responsible about it. Tell them you can only pump they can only pump to their lift station for 20,000 gallons worth, however many hours or whatever that is, right?
Honestly, they could connect to the pipe that they used to gravity flow back to the lift station. Install a couple 100 feet of pipe. It could even work as a siphon, you know, it doesn't have to be deep, and they open and close the valve, control the flow rate, have a steady rate. That would be one way to do it. That might be pretty efficient.
Are we worried about their piping? I mean, I know we've had problems down that area.
It's not in that way.
It'd be a temporary use.
you know, since it's not domestic wastewater, it should be tested. Right? That would, the acceptance would be contingent on the results of those tests.
They need to pay for the test.
Yeah, they should be doing that.
If you trust it.
And to pay your bill. Well, you get copies of the test results.
Well, where are they taken? You know, those types of questions you almost wanna know. You know what I mean? Taken out of your kitchen sink, or was it taken out of the pot? You know, how?
Oh, I see what you're saying, collecting samples from where,
Yeah, DI water. This stuff's amazing.
You know, we do have time, Joe, right? I mean, this doesn't need to be done.
well, it takes 100 days to do it. I mean,
it's 3 months, so they got till
you don't have all the time in the world, but you got a little bit.
November, October, September.
Maybe it could be next spring, maybe it could be some this year, some next year.
I don't think it matters from the treatment process standpoint. I mean, we probably wouldn't want to accept it. Well, I don't know that it matters.
You know, when Orinoco Estates was experiencing some cold weather, a lot of the trailer homes ran water.
Yeah.
And so that actually helped the wastewater treatment plant with their processes when we were going through some of the hard times this last year. All that additional water kind of helped out. So maybe having this for the winter months, maybe that would help out. But then you deal with freezing and.
Might drop the temperature of that water pretty fast if it's all exposed to the air right there. I suppose it freezes too.
Mm-hmm.
This is
Gotta
ponds
freeze.
right over by the development.
Just west of the treatment plant, east of the treatment plant, quarter
No
mile.
idea.
So I guess we should wait to hear what they have to say, but I think, Joe, when you're in your conversations between you and Kane, the responses back, I think we have enough questions to go back and forth to maybe get us a better direction at our next meeting. In
I'll
August.
ask some questions. I'll let them know we're at least interested and
Yeah, I think there's an interest.
I think we can help them out, and we should. But we gotta test what we're getting to make sure that we don't get screwed with what we get. I mean, if we,
Well, we're getting paid for it, it's just a matter of.
yeah, but if we accept a bunch of 10,000 gallons of hazardous waste, our facility will just tip upside down. You know, I don't wanna, if there's something in there that shouldn't exist. I'm really questioning, I don't understand what they had there, so where'd the water come from?
It was their wastewater, the same stuff we're getting every month right now.
Okay, so it came out of every trailer. And then as it was, as their tank or their field.
So usually a pond system, you have a series of ponds, you pump your dirty water into the first pond and then from there, it's gotta sit in there for so many months and then you pump it to the next one and maybe the next one.
So this
And
is,
then just over the course of,
this
a
is
year and a half.
supposedly. It's gonna be clearing of. Shit, it's gonna be good, it's gonna be more or less pure water. Not quite drinkable,
Solids, right?
no solids,
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
word that I was looking for. But, so this should be just plain water with no solids, and we don't know if there are any additional, chemicals that somebody threw their junk into.
no, but you don't know that right now.
That's my question is how do we
Somebody-
control that?
But I mean, we should test what we bring in, just so our operators have heads up what the heck's going on.
Yeah, I wouldn't be suspicious about any of that. It's more just how much is it gonna cost to treat it?
Yeah. Well,
Cause again, it's the same wastewater we're getting
it's the
right
same
now.
thing we're accepting now.
Yeah.
So I think that we should, accept it on the same conditions as long as there's no hidden troubles in it.
Okay, well, I think Joe has enough background to, Katie gives some more definitive answers for our questions, so let's just wait with that.
Table that one, okay?
Last item there was a certification form, and I think that's what you're gonna submit tomorrow. Fitzgerald. No pay request,
no, not this month.
sheriff restoration. The rain's helping, but we'll see how it all looks 2 months from now. For those areas.
I think a lot of areas improved a lot. I know we still have a handful of areas that need some attention, but we've had a pretty darn good spring in terms of growing grass and
Plenty of rain.
that has helped and they did rework, they reworked stuff for a month. And that's helped too from what I've seen.
My front yard and the areas across the street from me are all looking much better than they were.
Dylan, is that the case for you too? How is your stuff looking?
I mean, it's all crabgrass. And I sprayed it for weeds, so. It's green.
They take care of a bunch of the,
Yeah, they
picked up the rock, they
Yeah,
did those types of things.
pile rocks and kind of feathered out the approach to the driveway and took care of those. Yep.
Before we finish this, I want to bring up a sore subject. Up at the VFW, there, west of the building, Fitzgerald piled stuff up 20 foot high. I don't know what it was. But right now, okay, we had grass in there with dandelions. Okay, what we got right now, we got blacktop, got gravel, and we don't have any grass. And so I showed Joe once and I'm still not happy. Because, you know, I mow that every day or every month, every week. But what we got there isn't what we had before. We're working with Lions Club. They want to put up a sand pit and they're talking about a permanent one. One they can dig in and bury. It'll be kind of in the southwest corner of the property. And it'll be buried, it'll have a cover on it so the cats can't ferment it. So we're working on that, and that'll be a different subject, but the grass that we have now isn't the grass we had before. And anybody wants to, I'll go up there to this meeting and show you. I can walk right down the line, I can say, we never had blacktop in our lawn before. We've got blacktop. We never had any gravel. There's 2 spots that's just all gravel. The grass can't grow. That's not what we had before. And I had some reservations, but I didn't want to stop the project by saying, you can't put shit on our lawn. I said, okay, as long as it's, you know, put back in the original shape, we'll let you do it, you know? But it isn't.
Are there any other spots around town that we're getting kind of the same?
There's a handful of spots. Your spot was on the punch list. I was
Okay,
understanding that they were there and did address it.
they haven't done a thing. I mowed it today and I still got the same blacktop and gravel that I had before to mow.
Yeah, no, there are a handful of spots that I'm aware of, and I'm sure Kane is too.
So the punch list hasn't been closed out yet.
Not completely, no.
Okay,
I mean, it's a lot better,
Yeah.
but not everywhere. Right now, they're not seeding anything, not in July. The seed dates open up again in the middle of August.
last time they brought in some, you know, and filled in, after they raised the road or whatever, then they brought in fill, they fit, you know, seeded it down. I watered it every day or every other day. And some of it grew pretty good, some of it didn't even grow at all. But I watered the hell out of that stuff. I was out there every day. I had somebody else come in one of the days when I was off at a state convention. So we watered it, you know, trying to get it going. Maybe overwatered it, I don't know.
Well, that's not like anything's gonna happen until this fall. So is there any time frame? We say August or September, or is it?
You know, when the seed dates open up again.
Was that required like this, adding dirt and filling into it, or these other areas that are like this?
Well, all the areas are a little different, so. There's different ways to approach it.
But it is on the punch list.
It is.
Okay. All right. If it doesn't get taken care of this year, it still has the warranty on it for next spring. And once they're gone. Is that,
Once they're gone, it's gonna be really tough, especially if you start closing out projects, making final payments. Yeah,
how you're
then
told?
you lose your leverage.
Right, thanks. Thanks, Ross. Next item. Where we at with our connections? Sewer and water left?
Got about 20 sewer and 15 water, and there's about 10 vacant homes in town that we should make a priority for the city to do something with vacant homes. But that's another story. That's another committee.
We could just sell them and take the money, but
I just counted, Joe. I got 20 sewer and 15 water. But like I said, there's about 10 vacants that are not lived in or special circumstances, I guess.
so they got curb stops.
They got services provided. There's just no one living there.
So does that mean that there's 20 sewer, but 10 of them are vacant? So there's really 10 people that could connect that won't? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Excuse me.
Sorry. 6. I got about 6 sewers and at least 6 waters. Give or take. Some people have approached the city and voiced their concerns that they don't live there, they're gonna sell, they're gonna do something with their property. And they've voiced their concerns to us. And now we're in that waiting period of, okay, when will that happen? When do you sell your house? When does this happen? So we can, stay on top of these things. Make connections wherever available. So,
So just to clarify, the 10 vacant or 12 vacant, 6 sewer, 6 water.
some are both.
Other than that, it's 20 sewer, 15 water.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
That's pretty good.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
I'm one of them that hasn't got it done yet. I signed a contract with the Cook over in Byron. And got the permits pulled. I'm waiting on the Cook and it's not happening. I wish it would happen. Because once I get that in, then I know how much money I have left. We got hit with hail this spring, 2 months ago or whatever. So far, they've replaced the roof of the house, roof of the gazebo, roof of the metal pole shed, the gutters, screens on the gazebo, because it was all screens. Garage door's got to be replaced. Deck has to be redone. Now I'm trying to, if after the Cook gets done, I got any money left, I'd like to go with a composite like Trex. But I can't do it till I know what the Cook's gonna charge me. Because they did say something in there that if we hit rock, it could be more. Do we have any rock in Orinoco? So I don't know what, I don't know. I'm in limbo. I can't until I get the Cooks done and know what their final bill is. I can't do a thing with all the rest of the stuff I got going on. And I'm so damn confused right now. I got so much shit going on.
Joe, phase 1B. What's your status?
Still a work in progress. I don't have it complete. It's been too many other fires lately to address that.
So do you think it's August or September?
Yeah, I do. I think I've said that before, but it obviously needs to get done and.
Stretching Joe thin in the city right now.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
He's working hard. Alright,
I assume you got the email from Evan?
Yes.
Yeah, there's,
Cedar Woodlands update from Kilmer. Just scheduled.
No update, they haven't received the equipment yet, yeah.
well, let's see, equipment on order is the update.
It's ordered.
No. Yeah, okay, budget. In your packet was a memo from Joe. After our last meeting, your meeting, and so we had him to put together a water system comprehensive plan and a storm water utility.
Yeah, so this memo is really just for the budgeting purpose and it lays out, essentially makes an argument that a water system comprehensive plan is well overdue. We've really never had a water system comprehensive plan with the exception of maybe the first facility plan, and can't tell you how many things have changed since then. And the system continues to be augmented and it grows, and we've done some limited modeling, but more modeling is needed, and it's important to know where you're at and where your water demand's going, and when you might need to have additional storage or an additional well, or what size those water mains need to be to extend to that new development, and how far can development go based on the existing system. And there's 20 questions that really need to be answered. And this would help identify what needs to be done, approximately what it's going to cost, and what things will look like probably for at least the next 10 years. And so the cost to do that is estimated at about $35,000 to $45,000. And we're recommending that as you go through the budgeting process, consider this. Another important point that has come to light recently is the fact that City of Rochester, Rochester Public Utilities has kind of created a group of cities that all pull from the same aquifer. We all pull the same water. So Rochester, Byron, Stewartville, and Orinoco. We're getting together on a quarterly basis to talk about some water appropriation issues. DNR has told Rochester that they're not going to issue additional appropriations. They're not going to allow them to drill more wells because they're concerned that so much water is being pulled out of the aquifer that it's impacting surface waters, specifically at Cascade Creek, and also calcareous fens, most specifically on the south side of Rochester. And so for that reason, Rochester is pretty darn concerned. And, the options for additional water are limited and expensive. You could go to a deeper aquifer, potentially have issues or water quality issues with that, or you can treat surface waters. And both of those options are expensive. And at least the city of Rochester is not really well conditioned for that. And so Orinoco, Rochester probably has 40 wells. You have 2. Byron has 2. Stewartville has 2 or 3.
You got 40 balls.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And maybe it's 35. It's a lot.
The answer has always been for expansion, just drill a new well.
Yeah.
And no, it's not.
Yeah. And so it's a concern for Orinoco because DNR is going to look at Orinoco potentially similarly to Rochester and, critique and criticize, or not criticize, but scrutinize your application and may or may not grant it.
I got
How does,
This just, we just
how do they
found,
pick up 500 homes and say we're gonna build them, and
And shut off the water.
if they build them, water will come from someplace, or?
I
Get
got
the
a
water from
question.
California.
I
so
don't know if this is gonna interfere with our discussion, but there's got a letter that there's another meeting about the property around Glenn's Motor Coach, north and east. There was supposed to be 14 townhomes built there. And we got another letter that there's another meeting. Anybody know what it's about?
the public hearing for the conditional use permit and preliminary plat for the development of the property.
Okay, I thought that was taken care of 3-4 months ago when the city approved. After the last meeting, it went to the council and whatever they're proposing was approved.
I think they proposed a rezoning of a portion of that.
Different lots, but.
I don't know.
That's all it was?
Yeah, they had the.
It was just the green field.
Oh, okay.
2 acres.
Those little strip along had to be rezoned from B to R.
Right.
Okay,
Okay,
so-
R2, yeah.
What's this one about?
This is the plat itself, the drawing of how they're gonna use the land. And there's a CUP, I think, too, based on how it's being proposed.
Preliminary plat and conditional use permit. So it's a sequence of steps that need to be followed to develop land, and they're following the process. So with that comes public hearings for different facets that
If we add 100 and, what was it, 140 more townhomes or residences, that's gonna affect us a little bit and what water we have to, we're in good shape on the sewer part, I think, but we still have to provide water for
And
that.
that's what this plan is gonna help us do.
Okay,
so there's 56 units, by the way, 14 fourplexes,
14,
not 100 and whatever you said,
14 units, fourplexes.
56 units.
So this $35,000 to $40,000 request, that would come from our water utility fund, or would that be a CIP?
Ideally, it'd come from the water utility fund. Once we find out our current numbers with the audit, which is taking place now, right, Jason?
Yep, slowly but surely.
So, we're gonna get those numbers here where we're sitting at in the water and sewer utility funds, and hopefully they can fund these items, but if not, I'd say CIP.
Any chance of using that with the leftover money? There was some money,
From the phase 1A project?
yeah,
I don't think so.
The phase 1A project
Sewers.
money that we do have available, we've kind of assigned to the facility plan for phase 1B. That 47,000 we're hoping to use there. The rest of it's just clean water and drinking water revolving loan funds, and they won't let us use that for any additional study
Future water.
for future, expansion. So we have asked that question.
okay. I didn't know, so I had to ask.
The stormwater utility,
Well,
based on that?
yeah, and that was another thought that I'd had, and Kane and I and Jason have visited a little bit about. Most cities have stormwater utilities, and that is a mechanism to collect revenue from property owners that, everybody that owns property produces runoff, and so that runoff goes somewhere, and the utility generates revenue so that the city has a designated source of revenue to clean ditches and replace culverts and sweep streets and to clean catch basins and to install storm sewer and to clean ponds and to do things. And today, you don't have a designated revenue source for that. You use general tax revenue, which, you know, is very sparingly doled out or allocated to, you know, maintenance. And if you drive around and you start looking, the number of culverts and ditches to clean, there's a lot of them. And street sweeping and maintenance that needs to be done, swales that need to be repaired, and eventually storm sewer that needs to be installed to improve drainage. Those are big costs. And so you need to generate some funding. And so most cities have a stormwater utility to do that. And so to set up a stormwater utility takes some time and effort. I think you should start thinking about it because I think there's a need there. I know that Kane could use funding to address drainage problems that he has in probably every corner of the city and downtown. So I did some very simple math within the last page of this. You know, you've got about 825. You got about 750 developed parcels, which equates to about 825 equivalent residential units, thinking that, you know, commercial properties with bigger parking lots produce more runoff. They're more than one ERU. They might be 2, 3, 4 ERUs. But you don't have many commercial properties. So I'm just kind of taking a guess here. And so if you say that each ERU is going to pay $5 per month, over the course of the year, you generate about $50,000. And that $50,000 would be put into a stormwater utility fund that builds up cash revenue or cash balances, and the city can assign to. I think the biggest need right now is ditch cleaning and culvert replacement, especially in the downtown areas. And as things develop and change, you're gonna wanna put storm sewer in and improve drainage, and this helps you do that. And if you don't have this type of fund, you know, it's hard to do that. And I just kind of picked round numbers. That there's nothing magical about this. You can massage the numbers to match the amount of revenue that you think you need to generate. You know, if that's $20,000 a year, or if it's $100,000 a year, the ERU calculation is different. But it makes sense to do this. Most cities do it, and you have a need. So you're in the budgeting process. It would cost, you know, $10,000, $15,000 to get some assistance to set this up. You want to do it? I think you should start thinking about it.
Where's the systems to set this up, man?
Basically figuring out how many parcels you have, how to calculate the ERUs, what would be fair and equitable in terms of, you know, how to treat commercial properties, apartment complexes, residential properties, you know, undeveloped properties. They all contribute in different ways. And then you're gonna need some policies written and legal help, and there's a process and of course a public engagement process that need to be completed. So it would probably be a combination of engineering and legal.
So when we look at, you mentioned commercial properties, but commercial developments, at least in the recent years, have stormwater retention ponds.
Mhm.
So why would they be interested? Why would they have to be charged?
Well, they all discharge. And that discharge still flows through the city.
When they reach a certain limit, when they fill up?
No, they all discharge stormwater continuously.
Comes into the, but yeah, all the sewage was.
They might retain it and they might
I
retain
guess
most of
that's
the
what I'm saying.
sediment,
Yeah.
but it still discharges from their site. You know, you still have ditches and culverts and roadways that all need maintenance. And
Okay, so the other question I had is like on phase 1B, right now they have no water, no sewer. So would that be put on their taxes then?
there's different ways to do it. That's potentially one way to do it. Yeah.
Or is it something
You know, you don't have to collect this monthly, you could collect it quarterly, you could collect it annually if you really wanted to. You could probably put it on your taxes, but
I just,
most cities don't do that, but most cities are sewered.
but after phase 1B, this would be covering all the residential units.
Well, I would say that this should cover all the residential units now. It doesn't matter if they're on sewer or not, because they all have impervious area, they all have culverts and ditches and
Yeah.
Drainage.
That's true.
so. The issue that complicates it is how do you collect it? You know, if you pay a sewer bill, well, people in phase 1B don't pay a sewer bill, so you don't send them a bill on a monthly basis, so you don't have a mechanism to recover it, and you probably don't crazy about adding those additional users, especially for $5 a month.
Sooner or later, we're gonna have to add them for phase 1B.
But you know, it
I would get a little salty if I had to come down and write a $5 check
Yeah.
every month. As a resident.
We could set up options. We can set up options. There's
Yeah.
more options out there for paying now with our new software system and
or quarterly payment, you know,
quarterly.
or biannual payment or an annual payment. Maybe you could include it as part of a tax. I don't really know how that works.
So it would essentially be another $5 a month charge on your water and sewer bill that you get now, if you set it up that way. Does this commission have the authority
Yeah.
to legislatively enact, or that, would it have to go to
Yeah.
the city council?
It has to go to the
Well,
council.
even then, as the water and sewer committee, are we the water, sewer and stormwater committee? I mean, I don't know. I think if we're not, we probably should be, but
Yeah,
maybe we're not.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that either.
The answer is yes. We're stewards of the environment, right? So whether it's wastewater or drinking water or stormwater,
Okay.
we need to be stewards of the environment and those as unimportant as it sounds, stormwater is pretty important, so.
I think we need a good story. Just based on what happened with our phase 1A, how many culverts residents thought should have been replaced, but that project didn't cover it. So when we
Yeah.
talk about replacing culverts, we're talking about paving over it again? Or to replace rock for rock, or
Well, we
new
would,
culverts get all paving or bituminous?
if a
Just
culvert,
That's it. That's the story we need to make sure we have in
Yes.
place.
Well, that's a policy issue. How do you want to do it?
Standard, you said.
But you can't do it without money, and right now you don't have revenue for it. So,
I know when we built our church, we had to build ponds and runoffs, and we pay, I don't know how much
Oh, yeah.
for our parking lots every month.
I can
Every
believe,
square foot of parking lot we get charged by Rochester for.
they're very aggressive with their utility.
Roofs, parking lots, everything that won't soak up water, we pay a fee on.
And honestly, storm sewer systems are expensive. Big pipes are expensive. Culverts are expensive. It takes a lot of money to make that go, and they don't last forever. And, you know, Rochester's been around a long time. They've got a lot of big pipes and a lot of drainage and a lot of deficiencies and needs. And so that's how they fund those.
We
Yeah.
have some curb and gutter in front of the VFW that gets designated as handicap parking during Gold Rush. Rest of the year, it's just open parking. Where does that drain go to now?
the river,
It just goes down the river.
eventually it gets to the river. All our storm sewers eventually get to the river.
We don't have any city-owned ponds, do we?
No. Not yet.
Well, the city's been very careful not, you know, the city council has been very deliberate in saying, we don't want to own your pond. So River Park, you own those ponds, the association supposedly owns those ponds, well, someday they're gonna come.
money for that either.
Well, there isn't, and so someday they're gonna come knocking at the door of the council saying, we didn't know we own these ponds and, you know, they're not working anymore and they need to be cleaned and that's gonna be $100,000. We don't have any money. We're taxpayers. Here, you take them, cause it, mark my words, it will happen. It might not be for 10 years or 50 years, but it will happen and the council might say tough. But they might say, okay. You're right.
Yeah, I generally support it. I think it's a good idea. I would just, as we set the fees, recognize that it's getting more and more expensive to live in this town. And property values are going up. I know one of the benchmarks is that 1% tax base or whatever number. My property value, because of the housing shortages, market values are going very high. And so, you know, understanding that just because we have that tax base doesn't mean everybody can afford to pay that. Right? I could not buy my house today. Right? And so paying the taxes on my house, it's concerning that they keep going up. And so I'm sure that there are folks in town that even have more of a concern than I do with that. So I just think keeping that in mind, $5 a month, you know, doesn't seem like a lot, but when you compound it with the school district, Rochester levies and the water, the sewer, the tax increases, it all adds up. So recognizing that it's all part of the bigger tax that folks pay and keeping that at a reasonable level, I think is gonna be important.
But, you know, the one concern I have too, I think is just, these are all great ideas. It's just a matter of the timing of doing them. And no doubt, if we look at a stormwater approach, which we don't have at all, I think of the 10, 15,000 sounds kind of low myself. But especially when you start developing ordinances and legal fees and well, it's gonna add up. So I'm not sure the timing is right. I don't want to say we can't do it. I'm just saying I'm not sure when the right time to do it is.
You also gotta remember that it's not gonna happen overnight. It's gonna take
Right.
9 months to, it might take a year before you're ready to enact anything. So
Well,
the needle moves slowly, as you guys all know.
I agree, the water comprehensive plan, I think that is something we do need. I think that is because of our imminent growth that's gonna happen. And I think we need to do that because we just know it's gonna happen. The stormwater will be kind of held in temporary with, because everything's gonna have, all the new growth will have retention ponds of some sort or dedicated.
Well, take for an example, downtown redevelopment. It's happening now. Things are getting proposed, other things are gonna happen. So let's say
Jeff Green,
something wants to open up and they wanna redevelop or develop new and install a parking lot. Well, right now, you don't have any storm sewer.
no, it's gonna go find its way to the river.
Well,
Yeah.
it can't, you can't drain a whole parking lot down the street and find it, that's not okay. And so how do you deal with that? Well, cities put in storm sewer. Okay, so you don't have storm sewer anywhere. So that costs money. And where does that come from? If you want to support the development, you're gonna have to have some funds to make that stuff go. Are you gonna turn to the property owner and say, yeah, we don't have any storm sewer, you're gonna have to put in 2 blocks of storm sewer, and that's gonna be $75,000 or $100,000, and he's gonna say, thanks, I can't do that. So
And that could happen very soon.
it could,
It probably will.
yeah.
When your customers get out of their car and they're ankle deep in water trying to get in the door.
Or your neighbor across the street is pounding on City Hall's door and saying, you know, I never used to have water issues, and put in a giant parking lot, and now I do. And who approved that? And, you know, that happens. And, it really puts the city in a tough spot, cause who doesn't want that parking lot to go in? You know, who doesn't wanna see that the church expand or, you know, whatever happened, a daycare go in. Everybody does, but if you don't have first sewer and water, but then, you know, there's streets and there's drainage, you know, and it all comes kind of hand in hand. And right now, you know, your drainage system is culverts and ditches by and large. And
Well, the question, we see the problem coming. The question is, are we gonna kick it further down the road or go ahead and start the process?
that's right. Correct.
These are all good points.
Cause it's coming.
Yeah, I mean, I don't wanna pay it, but I don't wanna be ankle deep in water walking into businesses either, so.
Or have my septic tank flood my house.
Yes, exactly.
Well,
Which has happened.
those are all good points. And the more we talk, the more I think, you know, it's imminent.
Side note, you guys, RPU's bill has, 5 different charges for the water, drinking water, 2 charges for wastewater, and 2 more charges for storm sewer. So you're looking at 9 charges in the city of Rochester for water, sewer, and storm sewer.
What are the two charges for sewer and water? What are they called or?
Water customer charge for water, and then wastewater customer charge, and stormwater customer charge. Those are kind of your
Base rate.
base rates, your base fee.
And then your metered usage?
Metered usage, fire hydrant facilities charge, state mandated charge, and then your tiered rates, your usage. Wastewater is your flat fee, and then your units based on metered usage for us. And then stormwater. I don't know how current this is, but there's a $5.30 $5.30 for you stormwater utility fee, and a $5 for stormwater customer charge. That's your flat fee. So
What's the hydrant fee?
It used to be like $1 a month.
$1, yep.
That's
Believe
the
it
paid
or not,
hiders.
In
It
Rochester,
does.
Now they put bags on them in the winter, so it lasts longer.
believe it or
I
not,
think I want the bag
in
before. Like,
Yeah, keeps the salt off.
in Rochester, the fire department has to pay the city for every hydrant that's out there every year. They have to budget whatever that amount is. So when they put in new development and they add 10 hydrants, that's 10 more, whatever it is on that's the budget. It's kind of like asinine, I think, and they're charging one city department for the, I don't know. But that's the way to do it.
What would be the next step for us to take? Ask the council to start working on this or?
I think it needs to go through the budgeting process. You can't do it unless you have funds. So if it gets incorporated into the budget, it's deemed important, and then you move it forward.
So right now, we'll talk about our budget workshop. We have one coming up 5:30 next Tuesday night. I'm not sure. So we'll have a series of workshops. Lined up with our monthly council meetings, or maybe some special ones too, so. So we can, when it's our turn to talk about sewer and water and storm sewer, that's when we'll talk about our request. And just see how all these boil up and what eventually comes out or what's being proposed. We have to have a budget, a preliminary budget by the end of September.
Okay.
And that's a very high number that we could work for the next 3 months to lower it. We can't increase it, but we can lower it to a more favorable rate if that's discussed. So,
My opinion, again, based on what Kane said, I believe that our committee should be in charge of their charged with looking at wastewater, storm sewer. I mean, we got water, sewage, and then there's storm sewer.
Mhm.
And I think that we should be, I don't know if it's right or not, but that should be added to our headaches and try and help recommend solutions for.
So that's a mandate that the council would have to add to our portfolio.
Yeah, I don't know. It's in your name. You're a sewer and water. What is stormwater?
Yeah, what's water?
It's water.
Drinkable.
I don't think they're gonna come up with somebody else.
No, there either.
So I guess the takeaway from our discussion here, from Joe's letter. If there's either a consensus or a motion to accept Joe's proposal for wastewater system, water system, and the stormwater utility system. And Jason, would this be acceptable to you to put into the workshop information? Do you need more? You know, it's got background information plus the dollar figures.
I've got it in mind. I've got 15,000 for storm sewer and 45 for water.
Okay,
Those are my budget requests for. Without you guys, we need that stuff.
then you gotta deliver.
I think the big thing we're gonna need to do, no matter, and kind of what we're seeing with a lot of departments, is we really need to start setting the bar of, you know, having these annual budget requests in there, like the amounts of, okay, we're start making it a customary thing, we're raising the bar. You know, that, I know taxes is a sore subject in this town and raising things and the cost of everything, but it's really gonna be beneficial for you folks as committee members to help fight for this, because you're getting all the information. People only see one side of it. We have to be able to explain it as a city and as a committee going, we need this and here's why. It's not just a one-time thing. You know, this city has a tradition of kicking the can down the road. And we've now come to a point where we have so many cans piled up. It's going to be expensive. Because we need to start dealing with some of this stuff. Otherwise it's gonna cause even more problems down the road. So, you know, I think it's definitely something that should be in there, and if Kane's already got it in there, this is just more support for it and reasoning for it, so.
So would you see, so we have a water utility, sewer utility, and a stormwater utility, the third column of utility 603 or whatever that number is, okay.
You want a motion to support that?
Yeah, I think we should put a motion in our minutes.
So moved.
You
I'll
support?
second it.
Go ahead. I'll second it.
I already did.
Oh, did you?
You seconded it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you hear you?
As soon as he made the motion, I said, I'll second it. Anyhow. It don't make any difference. You go on.
No. Recommendation. Any other questions or comments? I agree with Jason too. It's something we're gonna be, the budget is gonna be a difficult process, but we need to be clear in our delivery of the need for all of this, so. Whether it's for committee members, I think it's important that, you know, you get the opportunity to speak on either public forum or it's important we share that support, so. If no other comments, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Oppose? It's approved, thank you.
And make a motion to go home.
The last thing on our item. Next meeting is, oops, that's the wrong sheet.
August
August 12th.
Last takes a motion to adjourn, your second. Second, third. 8:14, thank you very much.
Just to let you know, I'm iffy on the August meeting. It depends on when my daughter-in-law goes into labor in Alabama.
Well, that's exciting.
That's right. Grandkid number 12.
Oh, wow.
Well, then